want to thank you for being here this late in the afternoon and allowing us this opportunity to talk about Aboutface, unleashing the power of awareness. So I need to give you a little bit of history about Aboutface. So at King's, we have the Cheval Center for Student Engagement, which really works to develop teaching, research, and volunteer opportunities for our students. And one of the activities I have as a faculty member, we can embed service learning courses within our curriculum. So we have multitudes of faculty who are doing various different service learning opportunities, taking their students, giving them practical application, benefiting the community, impacting their society. Several years ago, the Cheval Center said, well, what if we were to herd the cats, because we all know academics are cats, and get them all on the same page working towards a common goal. And that common goal they decided to work towards was substance use disorder. Because one of the things being is that we see that drug overdose is the #1 cause of accidental death in the United States. 1 in 3 Americans has been afflicted by addiction. And only 10% of people with substance use disorder will ever receive the treatment they need. So most Americans, addiction is a character flaw, and it's not a disease. So our goal as we started moving through this program in our service learning was to dispel these myths and break down the stigma. I teach a marketing class. If you would ask me what class, I'm an accountant by trade, what class I would least like to teach, it would be marketing, probably economics followed by marketing. I do teach both those classes. So I said, okay, if I'm going to teach marketing, I am going to make it something that is impactful and beneficial and that I enjoy. So changed it to a social marketing class in which students work on a wicked problem in healthcare and look to change behavior for good. How do we impact our communities? A wicked problem is one, it's like a plate of spaghetti. You pull on one string, they're all going to come, threads are going to unravel, but we're never really going to solve the problem, but we can make a difference, one person at a time. So a little background on how the opioid epidemic started. So it all started with this editorial, a 5-line editorial in the New England Journal of Medicine. And the title of that editorial was Addiction Rare in Patients Treating with Narcotics. So what organizations did, big pharma, healthcare organizations, they took that headline and ran with it without even looking at the underlying causes and what was happening and where that research came from. Because it was an editorial, it was not peer-reviewed. It was just an offhanded piece, very narrow scope that they looked at in their hospital in a very controlled setting, really did not live up to its name, and that's how basically, all things got started. From that, it rolled into Take 5. Pain became the 5th vital sign that physicians and practitioners were held accountable, and they were evaluated for on their matrices on their patient satisfactions. So as we saw with our panel earlier, with standards, what gets measured gets done. So this was an incentive for physicians to start beginning to prescribe opiates because they didn't think it was an addictive property. So when we started looking at this as a campus-wide, we took the work that my students did and they started looking at this epidemic. They started looking at the issues and diving deeper and creating social marketing plans. They didn't implement those social marketing plans, they just laid the groundwork. From that, we were able to take their work and get a multi-year grant from the All One Foundation to be able to actually implement many of these activities on campus. We chose as our target audience college-age students. And the goal was to affect college-age students on the King's College campus and then to develop a program that could be replicated and moved to other areas. So through that leadership, we're in the 3rd year, that's where we're heading, looking forward to spreading the word and getting the word out there, how others can replicate it. So a lot of different things were happening in this space. You had provider awareness of what they were prescribing was dangerous. General education of individuals knowing that they, how someone can become dependent upon a substance use. And then how do we get people into treatment? Well, we found in our research with my students that stigma was a big issue. And stigma is just really a word referring to the negative mark attached to people who possess any attribute, trait, or disorder. So it's a difference. Someone is viewed differently, undesirable, shameful. So when we started even looking further, we saw that only 6% of students who met criteria for substance abuse or dependence actually sought help for their problem. And 37% of those said it was because of the stigma that really prevented them reaching that issue. But on the positive side, if we can get individuals the help they need and support them, they can reach recovery. Language is a major barrier. What we say and how we say it. When we say addict, when we say junkie, the other person is feeling that they are worthless, that they are not worthy. So we need to change the language and make awareness. Change it to, instead of an addict, a person with a substance use disorder, a person in recovery. First person language is so key. In dealing in healthcare, we have providers that, they are stigmatizing and in their care of others. So we work with them to help them understand that. So how we did this, we convened a group of students to be our counselors, to be our guide. That logo, that Aboutface logo you see, was designed by one of our students in our mass comm department. We have a team of students called Pure Hope Educators. They became our Aboutface ambassadors. And we went and we kicked off a version of Talk Tuesdays, a series of events held on campus, face-to-face and virtually, in order to be able to bring awareness to the issue and how one person's change can impact the lives of another. Our first Talk Tuesday was kicked off with Jamie, and you'll hear from Jamie in a minute. We also had Talk Tuesdays with Judge Michael Barace and with others in the community leaders. We partnered with other student organizations on campus, the Gay Straight Alliance, the law student organization, to get others involved and active in our work. So with that, before I share the results of what we've seen and how we've come about, I'd like to ask Jamie to share a little bit of his story.
Thank you, Dr. McGowan, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak today. First, I want to give a special thanks to someone special that's here today, and she's been a giant in my recovery, and not just getting back into my education, but a second chance at life. So I just want to say thank you to Melissa Wassel, the director of the Keys and Airy program at LCCC. When I got out of treatment 2.5 years ago, so I'm coming up on 3 years sober, and my sobriety date's December 6, 2020. And this is probably the most time I've had significant since I was 15 years old. And I was born and raised out of the Scranton-Dunmore area, graduate of Dunmore High School, and when I went on for my education, I earned a Division II football scholarship. And within a semester's time, drugs and alcohol took all that away from me. I didn't do what I needed to do for myself. It had a hold of me from the age of 19 to today. And then I'll be coming up on 43 years old. And the opportunity when I got out of treatment, I went for 70-some days. And I was supposed to go for 28 days, and I said to my family, what's 28 days going to do when I just used and drank for the last 25 years? And I couldn't break that habit, so I needed help. And it's the first time in my life I reached out for help. My father just celebrated 31 years of sobriety, a Vietnam vet. My parents just celebrated their 52nd anniversary. And if it wasn't for people like Michelle, Melissa, my parents, my support group, I wouldn't be standing here today. And before I get in a little bit of my story, what just touched me on those previous screens is the stigma. And not just stigma, it's the judgment. People that don't know you will put judgment on you for something that happened or something that you did or because you're using. And today, living down in the Wilkes-Barre area and going to school down there, I see the homeless. I look at them different today. Someone asked a question earlier about mental health. I struggle every day with addiction and mental health. I have 2 therapists and 1 drug and alcohol counselor. I do 3 hours of therapy a week. Because if not, I wouldn't be standing here today. And when I walked out of that treatment center, I sat in that room for 70 plus days and wrote up a whole mission statement and an outline. And when I walked into LCCC, I went to President Leary and I said, here's my vision. Melissa and I went and met with him and said, I want to start a recovery program for students that suffer from X, Y, and Z. Not just addiction. They loved it, we launched it, and I believe within 2 weeks we had 20 to 25 students sign up. And that's growing today, 2 years later. And with the efforts there, President Leary asked me to speak on the student behalf as a student ambassador for the Day of Peace event for the Ukraine. And I did. And when I walked out of that treatment facility, I had nowhere to go. I was homeless. I couldn't go back to my family because I burned all those bridges. I lived in a hotel for a month before I got myself back on track. Everybody else gave up on me but myself. And this is the only time I gave myself the opportunity to let's try something different in life. You know, leaving my education at the age of 19 years old, I was unhireable. And if you get to know me, more companies are reaching out to me today to hire me, and I'm not even finished with school yet. And when I walked on campus at LCC the fall of 2021, right now after my 4th semester and a couple summer semesters, I just got my 12th award. You know, I've done more in 2 years and 8 months than I did the last 25 years of my life. And with my efforts and switching my major, King's College extended their generous award to me. And I can't wait to get started at the McGowan School of Business. And today, I mentor students. I help them. That us, and I'll call myself an addict because I'm proud. I wear it with the badge of honor today. No one else gives us a chance until we make it. And I believe we're the most unique people in the world. I do. And I suffered a lot that in the past 2 years, this September 6th, I'm having my 7th surgery in 2 years. These lumps came all over my body, came out to be a rare disease called Maid lung disease. Less than 1% of the population get it, and it's from the alcohol use over the years. Now, 2.5 years ago, I would have drank or used and not went to my doctor to get checked out. But today, it's a part of my story. It's a part of my past catching up to me. But I have the people in place today to help me succeed when things get hard. Because every day when I get up, that day is a giant, and it's hard to get through it because of the stigma, because of the judgment, and the things that we have to go through every day. But I'm so excited to see where my future's going. It took me 40-some years. But when I walked out of that treatment center, because of LCC and King's College, I have hope and purpose in my life. I'm a son today. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm a friend. And people could rely on me to help them. Someone told me, rest in peace, my CRS, Certified Recovery Specialist, about a month ago, sat with me and read with me for 71 days in my room. And 3 weeks ago, he got hit riding his bike on a Monday morning on Route 92 in Exeter. Ed Bernard. He just got married a year ago. He was 68. And drugs and alcohol did not take him out. And he was living life to the fullest. So people like that are put in my path, I take their suggestions and stop running my own life and listen to them. So I just thank you all, and thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamie, for sharing your story. And, you know, it's stories like Jamie's that all of us in this room as leaders of organizations, we have to take that risk on someone who is in recovery and break that stigma and give them the opportunities, because with the opportunities, there's hope. And with that hope, there's great achievement. And we need to move forward. One of the things we saw at King's since we implemented this program, and we look forward to having Jamie on campus and continuing his work at both campuses, I hope, to help spread the word and keep this momentum moving. One of the things with the grant is you need to have evaluation measures, and because stigma is one of the reasons people don't seek out treatment, we wanted to see if what we were doing could actually influence our students to receive the help that they need. So since the beginning of the project, our counseling center has seen a 300% increase in students asking for help with substance use disorder. New Roots Recovery Center, which is close to campus and one that we frequently refer students to, they've seen a 225% increase in college-age clients. So it's early, but we're starting to see that students are getting the help they need. It's also making an impact with the students who've gone through my social marketing class. I can speak to them. I'm sure there's other stories on campus. I've had one of my students say she had a family member with a substance use disorder, and the family completely disowned them. Because of this, because of the awareness, the power of the awareness, they started reconnecting with that loved one, and were able to start breaking down some of those barriers and creating getting the help that they need. You know, it's not as easy as just, oh, we'll just go into recovery. It takes multiple attempts, and that person has to find that perfect, that what triggers them and what's going to make them. For Jamie, it was he never gave up on himself. I've had medical doctors who've said they've changed their prescribing practices because of it. And I've also had a medical doctor say, hey, I just caught myself. I was using stigmatizing language when I was describing a patient, and I went back and I changed that language. So the power of awareness is extremely valuable, and I hope all of you in this room will be able to take something away from this, change your perspective. I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't thank the All One Foundation for supporting us for these last 3 years. It is a two-part grant. We also are on campus, we have a food dignity program, which we're working with Clancy Harris and her operation, and that's being run through the health science, but in the interest of time, could not address both of them. So at that point, I'd like to leave it for questions, and if anyone, please follow us on social media as we continue our outlets there and help continue to raise the awareness. So thank you.
So, Jamie, at lunch, I would walk around and ask each of the tables, who was your favorite speaker in the morning? I don't need to ask that question anymore. You were by far my favorite speaker today. Congratulations for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Michelle, what's next with this?
So what is next is to try to package it up with a nice pretty bow and be able to disseminate the lessons we've learned, and we're looking regionally, expand it to campuses regionally, continue getting that word out there, and move it forward. We've seen remarkable strides from other efforts that others have been doing as well in this space. We just need to keep that momentum going. Right? We need to just get individuals to become aware, change their behavior, don't use stigmatizing language, give individuals that opportunity they deserve. Just remember, it's not a bad person trying to get well. It's a sick person, or not a bad person trying to become good. It is a sick person trying to become well. It is a disease. It is not a character flaw. Larry?
Do you just speak at universities, or will you be going around speaking at various business organizations?
Both, yes. Taking it to universities, speaking at various professional organizations, professional offices, opportunities. We're creating papers on it, writing papers. We have a team. Nothing happens alone. This is a whole team on campus, the Cheval Center. We have faculty involved, the students that are involved. So it's just getting that word out and spreading it as best we can.